some people to get in the room. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me see, where my cigarettes at? I wonder what do these things do. Hey, how are you? Had to wash this down. So we're going to do another relook at what the hell going on in Minnesota. So they having another protest in Minnesota. I guess tomorrow. And they got some big names coming. Big names expected at flagship No Kings rally at Minnesota Capitol. Maggie Rogers, I don't know who the hell that is. Excuse me. Joan Baez, I don't know who the hell that is. Jane Fonda plan to attend the anti-Trump protests in late March. Protesters will gather across the U.S. for the third No Kings rally since President Donald Trump returned to office, and the Minnesota Capitol is set to host the rally. The national flagship rally at the Capitol in St. Paul is among more than 3,000 events planned on Saturday, March 28th. That was part of the National No Kings movement. So Maggie Rogers, Joan Baez, Jane Fonda will join Governor Peggy Flanagan, who dressed up as a Somali, just pitiful. Attorney General Keith Ellison and other Minnesota officials for the big event. Minnesotians take care of each other. When Donald Trump sends thousands of ICE agents into our communities to try to divide us, he underestimated who we are. Y'all ain't shit, as far as I'm concerned, anyway. We showed up for our neighbors. We stood shoulder to shoulder. You acted a damn fool. That's what you... Because if you don't like this country, you should get the fuck out. That's how I feel about it. And we made it clear that if you come for one of us, you come for all of us. And you ain't never mentioned almost $19 billion in fraud and taxpayer money that happened in Minnesota. Y'all talk all this other bullshit, but not the fact that they have defrauded the American people who not even born here, who are not, they may be a naturalized citizen, but they wasn't born on the soil, who stole almost $19 billion in taxpayer fraud. Fuck them. Fuck them Somalis. That's how I feel about it. Anyway. Minnesota is showing the country that what we're made of. You ain't made of shit. Because if you... How I feel about these liberals, Malcolm X was said the liberals is the worst kind of enemy that you can have to the black community. And he ain't never lied about that. Malcolm X was right about that. Because they crazy. We're not powerless. We don't back down to wannabe kings. For the big event on March 28th, 3 marches are set to kick off 12 p.m. St. Paul College, Harriet Island, and Western Sculpture Park, and reach the Capitol by 2 p.m. The national rally in St. Paul will be live streamed nationwide, like the previous events in Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia. The first No King events were held June 14th to coincide with Trump's birthday. Y'all had no idea because one day you're going to wish you had Trump in office with what's coming. With what's coming that's going to hit him here, you're going to wish you had him. Thousands of people showed up to Minnesota Capitol for a local rally despite warnings to avoid large gatherings as police continue to search for the gunman who killed Speaker Melissa Hartman. And the assassin who killed Melissa Hartman, who was a House Speaker in Minneapolis, he said Tim Waltz paid him to do it. He implemented Tim Waltz. And I don't see, ain't shit happened from that. An injured Senator John Hartman and his wife Yvette hours earlier. And then they're going to have a second round of events happen on October 18th in 69 countries. 69 cities across Minnesota, I'm sorry. Then they're saying Minnesota workers are entitled to the highest minimum wage rate that applies to them. And every time y'all dumb politicians do that, Gavin Newsom in California, New York, you raise the minimum wage, the companies downsize and lay off the people. And then they raise the prices to compensate for that higher wage, you idiots. Then the stupid ass mayor, Jacob Frey, who speak in Somalian, which is Arabic, which, oh my God. And his wife dressed up as a Somalian. This shit is insane. Since when they're supposed to assimilate into American culture, not the other way around. This is unbelievable. Anyway, he runs through Minneapolis in a new tourism video after the ice. Don't nobody want to come visit Minnesota. And actually, I wanted to move there. I visited there in the early 2000s. Beautiful, beautiful, but cold as hell. Beautiful. And I said, yep. And look at what the Somalians did to it. So he paused evictions. No, he vetoes to pause evictions. I didn't think the man had any kind of a backbone. Now, just like Chicago, downtown is half empty now. Minneapolis downtown is a 20% drop in downtown Minneapolis commercial values, which will result in higher homeowner taxes. All right, now, I just wanted to get into the updated news. Now we're going back in time. Oh, shit. Oh, I got it. Okay, here we go.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes Mr. Fallon from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Governor Waltz, would you say that one of the most important things any governor, or quite frankly, any elected official can do is to keep their citizens and constituents safe?
I would, Congressman.
Great, I would agree. And I ask this because when I was reading your bio that you provided, Nowhere did you mention the safety and security of Minnesotans or fighting crime or supporting law enforcement or, for that matter, the rule of law. So I want to take you back to 2020. You were the governor of Minnesota. There were summer protests. You referred to them as peaceful demonstrations. In hindsight, would you still stand by that? Were they mostly peaceful?
Congressman, after the murder of George Floyd on the streets, thousands gathered in the streets. Were there those that...
But, Governor, were they mostly peaceful protests?
The vast majority certainly were. Those that weren't...
So why would you have to call out the National Guard for mostly peaceful protests?
They weren't all peaceful protests.
Okay, so they weren't. All right, mostly. So, Governor, the total damage in dollars, what was that in Minnesota for the peaceful protests?
I don't have that in...
All right, according
He
to...
don't have shit. He's awful. I'll be right back. Let me let that play.
In your own state Senate, put the price tag at $500 million. So if that's a peaceful protest in Minnesota, I shudder to think what a violent one would cost. Governor, I'd like to keep things simple.
Okay. I did not call it that. We had folks who were there.
Okay.
They're in prison.
Okay, great. I'd like to keep things simple as far as when we talk about federal detainers, and I've talked to several federal law enforcement officials about this. So a detainer is issued when someone's already in custody and confined, jail, prison, court. It's not somebody just plucked off the street randomly, and there's really three conditions, and it's and/or probable cause that a foreign national is subject to removal from this country. Final deportation order has been issued, or it's a foreign national that's been convicted of a crime and is about to be released. So sanctuary states won't cooperate with federal law enforcement. In Minnesota, do you cooperate sometimes, never, or all the time?
We follow federal law in all 87 counties and all the jurisdictions. Some of them do honor detainer requests.
Some do and some don't.
That's correct.
Okay.
Counties have the ability.
Okay. So, Governor, would you commit here and now, this is really simple, I think it's commonsensical, to compel state and locals in Minnesota to cooperate with all federal detainers issued by federal law enforcement when it involves a foreign national that's been convicted of a felony. And I'm talking about kidnappers, rapists, child molesters, murderers, predators, parasites, scumbags. In all those
of a felony being held by my state corrections, every time we call.
Every single time you're going to do that.
Every time
in Minnesota.
That's a lie.
What I would ask you to commit to is, are you going to fund ICE's, what they don't pay us, on detainers?
Well, listen, on detainers and in ICE, I don't call them the Gestapo. And this is my definition of Gestapo, Governor. Real Nazis from 1933 to 1945 that facilitated and participated in the murder of millions. I don't call federal law enforcement officers Gestapo. You were recently quoted. Where's the apology?
Facts.
Donald Trump.
Oh, no, Donald Trump didn't. Listen, Donald Trump's not here.
Yeah.
You are, Governor.
Yeah.
You're a big boy. Put your big boy
I would
pants on.
ask, don't wear masks. Identify who you are. Don't pull up and under.
Governor, you called them Gestapo. Will you apologize for that?
And don't pull people.
Will you apologize for that?
Congressman, my job, I'm a history...
Okay, so you won't. Okay, we're going to move on. No,
Mr.
Chairman, I reclaim my time. We won't answer the question. I think that's hyperbolic demagoguery. I mean, you said that in a speech, maybe you got a little carried away. I don't know if you apologize for that too, that you were, quote, going to kick Republicans' asses. I mean, I didn't say that. You said it. And that's dangerous rhetoric, especially when you use Gestapo. That's lazy too, and it's terribly inaccurate. The fact of the matter is, again, time and again, you've excused violence and you use dangerous, irresponsible rhetoric.
Facts.
And you can choose between being on the side of law enforcement or the side of vicious criminals, and you've chosen the latter time and again. I don't know why. Maybe it's because you want to impress your limousine liberal friends when you're eating wine and cheese, or you're getting your coffee every morning at the hemp store. I don't know, but I think it's ignorant, and I think it's culpable, and I think it's disgusting. I can see why the American people on November 5th made it a very bad night for you and a very great night for our future. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Facts.
Chair now recognize.
Facts. Awful. I hope they get you in the Melissa Hartman.
It's 5:02 right now. Another night with the curfew in effect in downtown Los Angeles as protests against the Trump administration immigration raids now enter a seventh day. Local leaders argue the president's decision to deploy the military is igniting fears and surging tensions. Federal officials expect another 2,000 guard troops will mobilize today, joining 2,000 already deployed and about 700 Marines. The LA protests are inspiring similar demonstrations in other cities like New York, Seattle, and Minneapolis.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho!
Protesters lined the Lake Street Marshall Bridge last night, calling for an end to ICE raids nationwide. This was one of a number of growing immigration protests across the country. And happening today, Governor Tim Walz will testify at a high-profile hearing in Washington, D.C. about Minnesota's sanctuary status. Our Bill Keller is in Minneapolis this morning, where city leaders are making it clear they will not help enforce federal immigration law. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Shanu. In fact, last month, the Department of Homeland Security put Minneapolis and St. Paul, along with 20 other Minnesota counties, on notice for failing to support federal immigration enforcement. Later this morning, Governor Tim Walz will be questioned about Minnesota's sanctuary policies for people living in the country illegally. Now, this hearing is being held by the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, led by Republican James Comer of Kentucky. Back in January, Comer launched an investigation into the policies of sanctuary jurisdictions and their impact on public safety.
And he failed that miserably. We're not even going to go into that idiot's testimony. He's such an idiot. Thank God, because I voted for that shit. I damn sure did.
What don't you understand about yes or no? Like, what can't you comprehend about yes or no questions? Do you still want to abolish ICE? Do you still want to abolish ICE?
You don't just stop people by saying nice things. Oh, Ren, you want to get a nuclear bomb and you keep saying kill all the Jews. Please don't get a bomb. Please. No. You lay down the law. And then you know what? They turn into a bunch of bitches. And that's what our protesters will be here in the free state of Florida. However, not in blue states. Listen to this from the Washington Examiner. 3 blue state governors were on defense for hours on Thursday during a marathon House Oversight Committee hearing where Republicans accused them of reckless immigration policies in their states. Governors Tim Walz, J.B. Pritzker, and Kathy Hochul testified at the high-profile hearing that ran from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. with few breaks. There were many fireworks as Republicans grilled their home state governors, and even some fireworks between the members themselves. So this is some great
So let's get to the
stuff.
Tim Walz part.
March and a rally calling for ISIS. What don't you understand about? Do you still want to abolish ICE? Do you still want to abolish ICE? Yes or no?
Said I wanted to abolish ICE.
Didn't you march in a rally calling for ICE's abolishment?
Not that I can recall, Congressman.
Well, according to widespread media reports, you did.
And the media is always correct.
How do you rate Kamala Harris's job as border czar? I want a number between 1 and 10. How was she as border czar?
I wouldn't have a way to measure that. I was not in the administration.
Weren't you her running mate for vice president?
As in the campaign.
And you can't rate her role as border czar on a scale of 1 to 10. Was she great at 10 or was she a 1? Terrible.
I think her proposal that she put forward to make sure we had the bipartisan immigration.
It wasn't bipartisan. Did you ever personally speak with Kamala about Joe Biden's cognitive collapse?
Not that I can recall, Congressman.
Not as her running mate for vice president. You never once talked to her about the president and why she was nominated instead of him.
No, not that I can recall.
What kind of operation were you guys running over there?
I was more concerned with Donald Trump's cognitive.
Thank God he's president and J.D. Vance is vice president and not you. Have you ever served in a combat zone, Governor?
I have not, Congresswoman.
Okay.
I mean, that's just great by Mace. We're going to show you more in a second. But, like, he's just nothing. Like, these people...
Nothing.
By the way, a lot of people thought that the pin...
An idiot.
Is, never, he has no recollection. Now I'm cooking like a pro. Get 15% off.
Let me see.
Is bullying okay as teacher?
Is bullying okay, yes or no? Is it okay to bully somebody?
I think
Yes
there's
or
a
no?
time to push back at a bully. So, yes, I do think there's a time.
So you think it's okay to bully others?
I think it's okay to bully the bully at times.
Well, you're showing that the Democrat Party is a party of violence. Were you at Tiananmen Square?
Have I been to Tiananmen Square? I have.
Were you at Tiananmen Square?
I have been at Tiananmen Square.
When were you there?
Oh, as I recall, January of 1990.
Okay. What is a woman? What is a woman is the question.
I'm not sure I understand the question here.
Okay.
What do you want me to say?
That would have been a vice president.
I want you to say that a woman like me is as an adult human female, that men can't become women. You guys are the party of violence, and you're the party erasing women. You don't respect us. You're a bigot. You're a misogynist. You're a sexist. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Boom.
Why do we have her? We gotta get.
Idiot. 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 Thank God he's not president, VP. He would have been office.
What don't you understand about yes or no? Like, what can't
Okay,
you
we ain't
comprehend
got
about
to
yes?
hear that. Let me delete this. Idiot.
Sir, just to so that you're tracking, actually had an internal memo that was released that stated that the government of China considered you a prime target for influence operations. I'm letting you know that now because I do believe that you should be made aware of, if you are not already. Now that I've made you aware that these riots are not about illegals and they're not about immigrants. If they did, they would have been protesting under Barack Obama, who's also dubbed the deporter in chief. And frankly, I think many of you would say that Barack Obama was a good president. Are you going to say that Barack Obama wasn't a good president? Yes or no, Governor Waltz? Do you think he was a good president?
Do I think Barack Obama was
Correct.
president? I think he did a good job.
Okay, and when you use brown people, just like they use black people with BLM and Marxists during BLM to usher that in, when you use brown people and you put Mexican flags with them saying that you stand up for illegal immigrants, but you follow the money and it's going back to the Communist Party, what you're essentially doing is using your platform as elected officials, the trust that the American people have put in you, essentially to usher in communism. You're not actually
Facts.
fighting for American values. Don't roll your eyes because it's a serious topic and that's where the money's coming from.
Facts. Boom. Thank God your ass didn't make it. Them illegals would have still been pouring in across the border.
Reason number one is a good start for why people are moving, but there's more to the story here. If you have kids or plan to, schools are probably top of mind, which is reason number 2 on our list. It's often one of the biggest drivers behind the decision to move. While every home has a finished basement, which become kitchens with actual counter space.
So this is why people are leaving Minnesota.
Everyone's been dreaming about
Minneapolis, I'm
walk-in
sorry.
closets in multiple, not just one bedroom. You'll also find garages that actually fit trucks and SUVs, not just a compact car and a lawnmower. And nearly every home has a finished basement, which becomes that bonus space everyone wants. Whether it's a kid's playroom, home gym, guest suite, or a cozy movie room. And even if it's not finished, it at least won't be those creepy, musty smelling ones you sometimes find in the Minneapolis area. If space, functionality, and comfort are at the top of your list, moving out to the suburbs like Maple Grove or Plymouth can be a total game changer. And I know, reason number 1 is a good start for why people are moving, but there's more to the story here. If you have kids or plan to, schools are probably top of mind, which is reason number 2 on our list. It's often one of the biggest drivers behind the decision to move. While Minneapolis does have some standout schools, according to niche.com, especially in certain neighborhoods, there's a lot of variation across the city. And that inconsistency makes many parents feel uncertain about long-term plans in a certain community. That's why we see so many families making the move to suburbs like Maple Grove, Plymouth, Chanhassen, and Eden Prairie. These areas offer what a lot of parents are looking for. High-rated school districts, more stability from year to year, and a tight-knit, community-driven environment where education is a major priority. Sites like niche.com consistently rank districts like Wayzata, Minnetonka, and Eden Prairie. I get it, but this next one will. After the pandemic, a lot of people reevaluated what they want their daily life to look like. And nonstop noise and traffic didn't make the cut, which brings me now to reason number 3. Remote work gave people that chance to rethink what they want a day-to-day life to look like. And for many, that didn't include sitting in traffic or being surrounded by constant noise. Instead, it was about having more space, more nature, and more balance. That's where suburban life really started to shine. In places like Maple Grove, Champlin, and Corcoran, you're not giving up everything. You're actually gaining a lot. Think miles of walkable trails, neighborhood parties, local sports leagues for the kids, farmers markets, and seasonal events that give you something to look forward to year-round.
And best of all, you're still just 25 to 30 minutes from downtown Minneapolis. So if you want to catch a Twins game or meet friends for dinner at one of the many highly rated restaurants downtown, you can. Take Maple Grove's Arbor Lakes, for example.
Okay, we're going to go past that. Now, what's number 4?
A move this year to the Minneapolis suburbs, whether you're ready now or just starting to explore.
Yes or no questions. Do you still want to abolish ICE? Do you still want to abolish?
Okay, we just going to get out of that. We going to get out of that. We going to get to some good stuff. We going into Melissa Horton. Hold on, I need to move this.
I know that people will be hurt.
This is Melissa Horton.
And I need, we worked very hard to try to get a budget deal that wouldn't include that provision.
DFL Speaker Emerita Melissa Hartman emotional following the House's adjournment from a special session Monday. Hartman was the lone DFL lawmaker to cast a vote to cut Minnesota Care access for undocumented immigrants. It's a move she made with a heavy heart.
I did what leaders do. I stepped up and I got the job done for the people of Minnesota.
The bill was deeply unpopular with members of the DFL caucus. Members have repeatedly expressed frustration that the bill was part of a compromise, one that would ensure the necessary GOP votes to pass the rest of the state budget.
We are tremendously disappointed and gut-wrenched at this decision, at this compromise that compromises our communities that are most vulnerable.
Hartman knows she let down her own caucus members with the vote.
They're right to be mad at me. I think some of them are pretty angry. I think that their job was to make folks who voted for that bill feel like crap, and I think that they succeeded.
Over in the Senate, a similar situation unfolded. Senate Majority Leader Erin Murphy forced to vote for a bill she too disagreed with to uphold the integrity of their compromise.
This one hurt. This one is a wound because of its reason. My colleagues across the aisle set this as their number one priority.
Asked whether the move would drive a wedge between her and the rest of her caucus, her DFL colleague, Senator John Marty, quickly stepped to her defense.
As a member of the caucus, yes, sir, she clearly was fighting against it every step of the way. In the negotiations, if we wanted a budget, we had to agree to that. She agreed to put one vote for us because of that.
Reporting in St. Paul, I'm Quinn Gorham.
I wanted to cry. Now, it was...
And then Tim Waltz is accused she was unalived by an assassin who said Tim Waltz paid him to unalive her. That was Melissa Hartman.
Unfortunate that that man politically motivated assassinated her and her husband.
Facts.
But she had nothing to be ashamed of because she was working for her constituents, the people, the American citizens that voted for her into office to do her job. And to do your job, politicians, you have to put the people first.
Facts.
Giving health care to illegals who have not paid into it. No, they shouldn't even be here. They shouldn't even be here. And on top of that, that Obamacare scam, Americans are already paying hundreds of dollars monthly for their own health care. Because you got to be damn near homeless to even to be qualified for Medicaid. So someone that just crossed the border, you're going to give them Medicaid, and so they can have access to all this health care. Towards me, working taxpayer, state and federal paying taxes, I gotta pay $500 a month.
This is the real Dana.
I don't qualify for Medicaid, but you want to give to someone who just came over here yesterday and have not contributed not one dime to this country. They're not even supposed to be here. They broke the law by even crossing the border illegally. So she has nothing to be ashamed of or cry. And that goes to show how politics, political parties try to shame you for doing what is right, for doing your job, for working for your constituents and working for the American people in America. To try to shame you. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was the DNC that set her and her husband up. Yeah.
Facts.
But this is crazy. This should not have happened. This should not be allowed to happen. Now, staying on this, I'm going to get to them in a second, honey. But no, let's get to this now. We're staying on, this is FBA versus Latina segment.
Okay, we're going to end that right there because we're not dealing with that. But you know what? I am going to move this to my immigration videos. How immigration affects black folk. Let me move this. All right, as I delete that. Now we're getting into the Minnesota assassin who unalived Melissa Hartman and her husband, and he implemented Tim Waltz.
Latest in Minnesota is chilling. A man allegedly stalked 4 lawmakers in a police disguise before gunning down 2 and injuring 2 others. Vance Leroy Bolter was captured after 40 hours, and now he faces federal murder, stalking, and firearms charges and could possibly even face the death penalty. The latest twist in this story is an international mystery in our own backyard. A phone that was tied to the accused assassin's home pinged off in multiple places like Dubai, Nepal, India, Turkey, and more over the last 3 years. For more, let's bring in Blaze News investigative reporter Joe Hanneman, who's been writing about this for theblaze.com. So, Joe, thanks for joining us tonight. So, how do we get all of this international travel for a narrative that did seem so locally contained?
Well, it raises a lot of interesting questions. We're assuming, of course, this is probably his phone, considering how they use the geofencing to identify it. But, we do know that his work history did include some travel, but, and he did write about traveling to some places, but certainly not all of them that were on this list. And it raises a lot of questions as to, just exactly what those trips were for and what he was doing, if it was work-related, personal. We just don't know yet.
So, Joe, this is, by the way, great work that you're doing. People should go look at the articles that you've been publishing on.
2 of them he encountered and shot, but the other 2, one was not home, and the third one, there were already police cars outside of her residence, and that scared him off, and he moved away and went on to the final stop where he assassinated the former Speaker of the Minnesota House.
So you've been writing so in depth on this. So what do we know about this man, this Vance Luther Butler? What do we know about him?
Well, he's got 5 children. He's married. He had roughly 30-year career in the food industry, working for companies like Golden Plump Chicken.
Okay, we're going to go past that because I want to get to the Tim Waltz implication.
Would explain the level of evil that he is accused of.
Joe, what's bizarre about this is where's the through line? It feels as if we're missing a good piece here.
That night, we don't know if he was hoping to get away and try to do this on another day, or just not going to be easy to be had on this.
The beginning, it seems as if, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm very well maybe, but it seems as if the initial, claiming of he's right, he's left, has sort of died down. That you don't have, people on left.
Okay, we're going to hold on, we're going to get rid of that one. I thought this was going to show that Tim Waltz was implemented. I'm going to delete that one. I'm going to delete this one. I'm going to delete that one. Now, this was the guy, Somalian, running for mayor who lost to Jacob Fry again.
Here we go again, guys. We uncovered state money was sent to a group even after a board member was charged with fraud. It was once a darling nonprofit, all in the name of keeping Somali kids on the right path.
So again, y'all, my theory and the idea of minority groups, that even when you see these red flags, Now there are certain officials who feel like it would be easier to and more politically convenient to allow the people.
This is Omar
He's got
Feta.
a huge coalition of Jewish voters that are supporting him. He's got a huge coalition of Muslims of every sect. He's got a huge coalition of young people who are supporting him.
And we're back, y'all. Thank you for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, my people.
And this is Paralegal. I love his channel.
Investigative reporter Ryan Ray started tracking your money. He made an interesting discovery.
Here we go again, guys. We uncovered state money was sent to a group even after a board member was charged with fraud. And the Department of Human Services still did not stop the flow of your hard-earned money. It was once a darling nonprofit, winning awards and making headlines, all in the name of keeping Somali kids on the right path.
My name is Mohammed, Executive Director of Kajog.
But this summer, Kajog's online presence vanished. I could not find them anywhere. Their office at the Greeks Midway building in St. Paul? It's dark, so. It's a similar story at their second office a mile away, which comes with its own doorbell.
So I just talked to a guy here who says Kajug does have an office here, but he's only seen them once or twice this year.
Other addresses listed on their website.
Do you know what happened to him?
All appear to be dead ends. But then I found this criminal complaint from 2023, and it all starts to make sense. It was one of the biggest Medicaid fraud cases at the time. A group of men accused of stealing more than
Minnesota with all that fraud.
Personal care assistance program. Among the defendants, Ali Elmi, the chair of the board at Kajog.
Now, as you're about to see here, y'all, not only were they able to defraud the state of Minnesota out of $9 million, this is in addition to all the other hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars that Minnesota gave away essentially to people who were claiming fraudulent services. I really think that one of the reasons, and you're going to see Minnesota kept sending the money even after they knew these people were defrauding them. Same with Feeding Our Future, y'all. I think that there is not the political will to look like you're going after a minority community, even when people in that community are committing massive fraud.
In this case, the state attorney general is the one who charged Kajog's chair, and DHS now admits it kept sending them money. In a statement, the agency promised it will put stronger internal controls in place.
I think we must do better.
DHS Inspector General James Clark addressed what we uncovered in a recent interview with our Eric Shalou.
I mean, a lot of the work, a lot of the communication we're currently doing now is manual, right? So I would say we need to do better in terms of breaking down silos of communication.
Okay, so there you see the officials saying, yo, we need to do better, right? We need to do better. Of course you do.
I guess so. After $9 billion worth of fraud that the Somalis committed, yeah, you do.
Had they corrected this problem? Had they gone into the system and taken this organization out?
At last check, the Secretary of State shows Kajog is still active and in good standing. We found they have raked in nearly $3 million in public money since 2020, despite these repeated warnings from the Attorney General over incomplete financial documents.
So again, y'all, my theory, frankly, is that the idea of diversity and the idea of minority groups and the idea of people who are disadvantaged has permeated so far that even when you see these red flags, now there are certain officials who feel like it would be easier to and more politically convenient to allow the people of those groups to continue with the stealing rather than to shut down programs.
Facts.
I mean, look what happened with Feeding Our...
Facts. 80 people were Feeding Our Future. Most of them, 70 of them were Somalis. Y'all need to get the hell out of here. Now, we talking about what the hell happened going on a minute. Then they had a mass shooting. Transgender. I need to put this under my. You know what? I think I'm gonna move this. No, we're gonna talk about this. This was the Minneapolis shooter.
Unalived 2 children and wounded 17 other people. What do y'all notice about Robert Westman? So the 2 children that were unalived were the ages 8 and 10, y'all. That could be your child. This shit is ridiculous. Imagine getting that call. Hi, are you the parents of Blase? I got unfortunate news. A guy came up to the school and he started spraying everywhere, and your child happened to get unalived in this situation. How would you feel hearing that? This shit is crazy. I would spaz out. This thing right here, this demonic entity right here, wore all black. And this man had hella weapons on him. He had a semi-automatic rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol, y'all. This man was locked and loaded. And you know what he is, right? He's the big T word. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. Look at the picture. So among the other 17 who were wounded, 14 of them were children. And they're in critical condition, y'all, because of this man right here. They were just children, and they were trying to pray and do what they do inside of a school, which is learn. And this man came and did the unthinkable. And then when it was all said and done, the man went out like a coward and unalived himself. Allegedly.
You know what? Let me move this to my trans.
Unalived 2 children and wounded 17 other people.
Money Low, did you send me an email? Because I didn't see it if you did.
There was a shooting today in Minneapolis at a Catholic school and church. You guys, this one gets bizarre. Now, there's a lot to unpack, a lot of questions, but here's what we know so far. The suspect that committed this crime is 23-year-old Robin Westman, aka Robert Westman, a trans person who went to the school, unaliving 2 kids and injuring 17 others. Right off the bat, why is it that we've seen a huge influx of trans mass shooters in the last 5 to 10 years? You have Denver, Iowa, Nashville, Philly, just to name a few, and now this one, definitely not a pattern to ignore. Reports also say that his mom, Marie Grace, actually worked at the school he attacked, which makes sense because in his manifesto, he had a schematic of a church he was going to attack. I'm assuming it was this one. Yes, that same parent who helped him transition from Robert to Robin back when he was a minor. But let's keep moving. But here's where it gets confusing. So he had a video manifesto showing all his gun magazines with writings on them that says anti-gay, anti-Jew, anti-black, anti-Latino. But he has another magazine clip that says sponsored by BlackRock. Now, how is this possible when the founder and CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, is Jewish? This is starting to scream PSYOP to me. And remember the governor of Minnesota, Tim Waltz, said this: I've become friends with school shooters. Which I find pretty interesting that not only him, the mayor, and the attorney general have all stated that the state is a safe haven for trans people. Interesting. Here's another question. If he was so anti-Jewish, anti-Israel, he even wrote Israel Must Fall in his magazines, how come he attacked a Catholic school instead of a synagogue where there's a bunch of Jewish people? But it gets even weirder. So just yesterday, there was another shooting where a person was unalived and several injured in Minnesota across the street from a Catholic school. What are the chances? In which they never caught the shooters, so is there a connection here? It doesn't stop there because also in his manifesto, he has this sketch where it's him looking into a mirror and a demon staring back, and the writing is all in Russian, and it basically has a conversation between him and the demon saying, unalive yourself. So there's that. In a conspiracy turn of events, I tweeted this about 3 days ago saying it's been a slow couple of weeks in the news cycle. I feel like something big is coming going into the fall, but that's not all. How was it that this movie Weapons is predicting things once again where 17 kids go missing in the middle of the night at 217 and the parent has a dream with an AR with the numbers 217 on it? This is actually in reference to back in 2022, the House passed HR 1808, which is the assault weapons ban, passing exactly with 217 votes. But it didn't pass the Senate, never becoming law. Now, speaking of 217, 2 children were unalived, with 17 others being injured. That's just weird. Make sure you guys get into my Telegram, but
wow, that's deep.
Let me know below.
But numbers don't lie.
At a Catholic school and church, you guys, this one.
All of this in Minnesota, #1 trans capital.
This Minnesota massacre just took a crazy turn. Look at this shit. It's been confirmed that Robin Westman, whose former name was Robert Westman, was the shooter that took the lives of 2 children and also wounded 17 other people. This person came into that school with 3 guns, a rifle, a pistol, and a shotgun, and he used every last one of those firearms. These children were inside their school celebrating Mass, and this guy right here opened fire through the windows. And from a video that he posted, he planned every single thing that he was about to do. They're saying that he barricaded a door from the outside to stop people from getting outside of the building while he was doing what he came there to do. They're saying that he had no criminal history, but what would make him do something like this? These kids had to be horrified. Listen to this shit. Listen to this.
He was like laying on top of me, like making sure I was safe, and he got hit. So that was really brave of him.
And you have a nick on your neck?
Yeah, that was, I don't even know what it's from. Kind of looks like debris or something.
This shit is insane. No kid should have to go through that. An 8 and 10-year-old lost their life today because of some crazy shit. It's not good, man. It's not good. For real. This Minnesota massacre just took a crazy turn.
I know why I put this with Minnesota.
So I'm sure by now many of you have seen this image of the school shooter. He drew a picture of himself talking to a demon or a devil in the mirror, which was probably a reflection of that internal conversation.
Money Low, did you send me an email so we could do a show?
Once again, a Christian school. You don't see them going to a mosque because, see, the devil is worried about Christianity because he's worried about the truth. Now, another thing to think about is the media is probably not going to post these images all over the airwaves for the people to see the reality of what was really going on in this kid's mind. This is a spiritual battle, and you can tell a lot of the times by the targets and the things that are written in these manifestos. Now, we're praying for all the families and those that are affected, but notice also how the mayor...
Another transgender mass shooting.
Don't go around blaming the trans community. And then he had some kind of little thing to say about the prayers that didn't sit right in my spirit. Let me know if I'm tripping. Watch these clips.
And I have heard about a whole lot of hate that's being directed at our trans community.
Thank you, therapy.
Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity. We should not be operating out of a place of hate for anyone.
Oh, of course, that's the mayor, Jacob Fry, soft ass.
It was the first week of school. They were in a church.
I better wake up and realize everything is spiritual. Now,
Facts.
Also notice that they always want to say, you know, when a white man does it, oh, white men are dangerous and guns are dangerous and all of that. But then the kind of tune changes. You know, technically when the block is getting shot up, that's a mass shooting when multiple people get hit as well.
I agree,
so people, they only care about their narrative that they're trying to push, but the reality is all of it is spiritual. There are demonic spirits behind every evil, wicked thing you see, and the church needs to stand up, and the church needs to pray, and the church needs to speak up, praying for the families. So I'm sure by now many of you have seen this image of the school shooter.
I gotta move this to my trans thing. But all this happened in Minnesota. Now we getting back to the fraud. Hold on, let me get rid of some of this. Oh shit. All right. Getting back to the fraud.
Has uncovered yet another example critics say shows a lack of oversight of your tax dollars.
This one centers around a well-known Somali nonprofit. The state has awarded millions of dollars in grants. When investigative reporter Ryan Ray started tracking your money, he made an interesting discovery.
Here we go again.
Right, did you send me the email?
Board member was charged with fraud, and the Department of Human Services still did not stop the flow of your hard-earned money. It was once a darling nonprofit, winning awards and making headlines, all in the name of keeping Somali kids on the right path.
My name is Mohammed, Executive Director of Kajok.
But this summer, Kajog's online presence vanished. I could not find them anywhere. Their office at the Greeks Midway building in St. Paul. It's dark.
You did? Okay, I'm going to look for it and get with you tomorrow.
Which comes with its own doorbell.
So I just talked to a guy here who says Kajuk does have an office here, but he's only seen them once or twice this year.
Other addresses listed on their website.
Do you know what happened to him?
All appear to be dead ends. But then I found this criminal complaint from 2023, and it all starts to make sense. It was one of the biggest Medicaid fraud cases at the time. A group of men accused of stealing more than $9 million.
The Somali from Minnesota.
Among the defendants, Ali Elmi, the chair of the board at Kajok. And look at all the grant money I found the state kept sending Kajok after its chair was charged with fraud. The Department of Human Services sent the most, more than $600,000.
The Department of Human Services appears to be asleep at the wheel.
We brought our findings to House Republican Isaac Schultz, who sits on the bipartisan fraud committee. What's your reaction to that?
That the left hand isn't talking to the right hand, and that state agencies, elected officials, and their offices are failing to communicate within state government to protect the public's dollars.
In this case, the state attorney general is the one who charged Kajok's chair, and DHS now admits it kept sending them money. In a statement, the agency promised it will
kept sending them money after he charged. Who does that?
DHS Inspector General James Clark addressed what we uncovered in a recent interview with our Eric Shalou.
I mean, a lot of the work, a lot of the communication we're currently doing now is manual.
They kept sending money after he was charged with fraud. Getting to the governor.
Do this with me. Let's do this together. Would you be my running mate and let's get this thing on the road?
I would be honored, Madam Vice President. The joy that you're bringing back to the country, the enthusiasm that's out there.
Do you think that the governor's run for VP last year will hurt or help him in this campaign?
I actually think it hurts him. Waltz did not help Harrison, Minnesota in 2024.
At all.
One excerpt obtained by the Atlantic magazine says Kamala Harris wanted to select then Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg as her running mate.
So you couldn't pick Pete Buttigieg because he was gay, but you could endorse taxpayer-funded sex changes for minors? I mean, honestly. And then you pick Tim Walz.
And we're back, y'all. Thank you for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, my people. You know that it helps.
Thank God his ass didn't get in there.
Because it helps us keep bringing you these stories every day. And y'all, look at this beautiful couple on your screen. Not romantic.
This is paralegal.
This presidential candidate and her vice presidential nominee. Don't they just look like they're ready to take over the world? Don't they look like they were made to run together?
Hell no.
We can call them running soulmates, right? Instead of running mates, running soulmates. That's what you would have thought, right?
Dumb and Dumber. Dumb and Dumber.
Harris and Tim Walz ran for president and vice president in 2024. They seem to get along so well. But now in a new book, Kamala is throwing Walz under the bus. Y'all, the hits keep coming for Walz. You're going to see in this video, he's getting hit here, he's getting hit there, he's getting hit everywhere. Kamala Harris is saying he wasn't the best running mate. People in his own state, let me pause. He's running again. He's running to be governor for his third term in Minnesota. And people in his
He dropped out. He had to, after all this fraud, was more fraud from them damn Somalis.
own state are saying, we don't think we really mess with you, old Walz. And one of the big reasons is because under his stewardship, the state has been defrauded to the tune of probably $400-500 million or more. And also,
it's now $9 billion.
Former running soulmate, Kamala Harris, threw him under the bus recently in her new book, and how Minnesotans are saying, not feeling you, Walls. So y'all, let's go ahead and jump right into it. But before we do, y'all, make sure you take care of your money.
Big of a risk. She didn't think the U.S. was ready for a gay vice president and a black female president. So Kamala Harris settled on Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who was considered a safer choice.
Now, what's interesting is if Kamala Harris had won, if she had become president, first of all, can you imagine what it would be like right now if Kamala Harris were president?
Hell no. Hell no.
The same, worse. How do you think the country would be going if Kamala Harris were your president and Tim Walz your vice president, y'all? Like,
it would have been Dumb and Dumber.
There in them streets. Now, y'all, Scott Jennings of CNN, you know he's probably the only star that they have currently. And he's going to weigh in on this revelation by former Vice President Kamala Harris as to how she didn't really want this Walz guy on her team. Why did she select him of the available candidates who were not Buttigieg? I don't know. But let's see what Scott Jennings has to say. Let's see what his opinion about this is.
Quick last word, Scott. So you couldn't pick Pete Buttigieg because he was gay, but you could endorse taxpayer-funded sex changes for minors? I mean, honestly, and then you pick Tim Walz. There is not a single political operative alive who believes that Tim Walz was a good choice or helped the ticket. Pete Buttigieg would have been a far superior choice. And the idea that you're going to go blame it on that now shows just how unfit she was for the presidency in the first place.
That's a fact.
So Tim Walz kind of finds him, he's like, what am I going to do? You know, couldn't become vice president. Guess I'll run for governor again. Y'all, so we're going to see if Minnesota wants to stick with the Walz.
Well, we know he has dropped out because of all that fraud. And they apparently, they finished a report on all the fraud in Minnesota. And guess what? They won't release it. Why? This is the last video. This is the other fraud. They got fraud everywhere. Housing, transportation, daycare, hospice, all kind of fraud.
Good morning. My name is Joe Thompson. I'm the acting United States Attorney for the District of Minnesota. We're here to announce the first round of indictments in the ongoing investigation of fraud in the Housing Stabilization Services State Medicaid program. The HSS program is riddled with fraud. The story has become all too familiar. Minnesota started the Housing Stabilization Services program in 2020. We were the first state in the nation to make this Medicaid benefit available. At the time, the program was estimated to cost approximately $2.6 million a year, but it quickly exploded. It grew to more than $100 million a year in Medicaid billing within just a few years.
$2 million to $100 million.
Companies enrolled in the program and began claiming to provide housing stabilization services to thousands of clients throughout the state of Minnesota. Many of these companies operated out of dilapidated storefronts or rundown office buildings that were full of other fraudulent healthcare companies, such as the Griggs Midway building in St. Paul. Rather than being general healthcare or social services providers, many of these companies were devoted exclusively to billing the Housing Stabilization Program. Today, we are charging 8 defendants for their role in this fraud scheme. 4 defendants, Mokhtar Hassan Aden,
Somali,
Mustafa Ali, Khalid Daib, and Abdi Fattah Mohammed, are charged for their role in carrying out a fraud in a company called Brilliant Minds Services, LLC, which is a housing stabilization services company run out of the Griggs Midway building in St. Paul. Brilliant Minds and its owners received more than $2 million in Medicaid billings based on their fraudulent claims to be providing housing stabilization services. Defendants Christopher and Emmanuel Falade are being charged for their role in operating another fraudulent housing stabilization company called Falade Care. Together, they received more than $2 million in Medicaid billing, purportedly for providing housing stabilization services. 2 additional defendants are being charged by information today. Assad Ahmed Adaw, the owner of Leo Human Services, is being charged for his role in the scheme. His company received more than $2.7 million in housing stabilization services payments. His brother, Anwar Ahmed Adaw, the owner of Liberty Plus LLC, is also being charged here by information. He and his company received more than $1 million in Medicaid payments for fraudulent housing stabilization services claims. All of these defendants and the others that we are investigating followed a similar scheme. They identified vulnerable individuals, Medicaid eligible individuals, many of whom were being released from drug or alcohol rehab facilities. They signed them up to receive housing stabilization services to help them, purportedly to help them find stable housing. And then they billed them for services that they did not, or they billed Medicaid for services they did not actually provide. Despite the hundreds of millions of dollars in payments that have gone out from the state of Minnesota to housing stabilization services companies, most of these individuals did not receive the stable housing they so desperately needed. The money was just simply stolen.
Now, that's more fraud. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. We're going to leave that right there because we're going to hit Minnesota back up because it ain't over. All right. Like, share, subscribe. Good night, y'all.